find it interesting that sometimes we have these, like, video game philosophers, which I guess now I can count myself among. But some of them, like, some of them work at companies, and they sit around and they think about, like, what a player might like. And they're like, you know, we think that whenever a player throws out a skill shot and it misses and it does nothing, well, that feels bad. And so what we've done is remove skill shots from our game. I was like, yeah, moron. That feels bad because the player's brain has constructed a feedback loop where they want to avoid the bad outcome. And so they will develop methods and implement things that make them more consistent with the skill shot. And then, as a happy accident, your gameplay is actually more dynamic as a result. Because, like, no matter how... This character is a little bit different because she's just spamming the screen. But you can imagine a different character where... But certainly you can imagine that, like, no matter how strong your character gets, there's always a chance that you just miss. And then, oh no, all of a sudden you have to play on the back foot a little bit. Now, there are criticisms of this game that I agree with. You know, I do think that the end game is, like, a little bit fast right now. Like, we lost something from the campaign to the end game. There's a difference in how the enemies, like, approach you in the end game. Everything is just barreling straight towards you. And in the campaign, I felt like there was a pretty good diversity of the way that enemies approached you. Alright, I tried making this video the other day and I didn't like it, so we're gonna try again. A little history before we start. I've played what I consider to be a lot of Path of Exile, but I mean, I know that people play like thousands of hours of that game, so this community is of its own type, we'll say. I used to race in Path of Exile back in the day, so I'm actually excited to see that coming back to 2. I looked at my account the other day, and I have a level 88 Necromancer in 1. Obviously, back then I was doing a lot of the early game. And in this game, I'm level 92. Now, I was actually hard stuck at 91 for a long time. I kept dying. Like, I think I understand the argument of the combined punishment for death being too harsh, but as far as losing XP, I prefer that one stays around. I mean, I actually have to agree with Quinn here.
Dying was, like, not the greatest because it would set you pretty far back on the map.
It set you back. There was a massive downside. There's always been huge downsides. Dying, just don't die in the map. There should be punishments for making mistakes. Otherwise, you understand, if everything is easy and there's no, and basically what happens is, if there's nothing to disincentivize you from dying, that incentivizes degenerate builds with no life, which is unfun gameplay. And on top of that, it doesn't feel good to succeed because you succeed by cheesing bosses, by cheesing the game. You just corpse rush a boss instead of actually fighting the boss and learn the boss and then overcoming the adversity and challenge.
If you don't have any penalty for dying, then that leads to these kind of like paper mage builds where you're just death scumming everything. You're just like running into it over and over with incredible damage and hoping that you get it right. And I know there's other things about the game, like armor is completely broken, we all know that. But I think in this game we have an opportunity, and the game should be tuned such that the player is allowed to make some mistakes, and the player can use their role, and it's not just like, when you get hit, you die. So defenses are needed. Now, as far as hitting level 92, I still have my passive skill point here. We're going to apply this together. Now, I'll be honest. I've done this before. It's not looking good for us. Let me just back up for a second on this XP penalty thing. So you lose a little bit of XP whenever you die. Is this bar really what you see as, like, progress on your character? Dude, like, before you think about that, there's got to be so much more low-hanging fruit on just in your inventory screen. But just to prove the point, let's apply this together. Alright, right now my spark damage is 27,080. I think that I have to I think I have to hit something for that to update. I'll just run something low. There's like something around here that, oh, yeah. I died the other day, so obviously, 27, 425. 1.25% damage. I mean, look, man, is it really the case that your, like, 118th passive skill point is going to be the one that sends you over the edge?
But what Crip explains is that the further you get into this, the deaths get more and more punishing. So everything is, you know, one death, you're out of the map.
Bro, no, bro, the game gets harder, bro. No. Wait, you get further into the game, it gets harder, bro? Bro, nah, bro, I'm out. Bro, I'm quitting, man. Nah, bro, straight up, I can't play this game anymore. The game gets harder as you go further.
Just as an example, I equipped this focus the other day. My old one was, I don't know, 60-something lightning and 40% spell damage. You know, whatever, like it was crap. This item alone got me 15% overall damage. And I still have a lot of room to grow here. This item doesn't even have the +2 to all lightning skills that I probably should have at this point. And my wand is like garbage. It should be upgradable. There's gotta be way more damage in any one of my item slots that I could still pick up than in all of the levels up to max. Oh, you know, it really sucks to have to go back to the well and refill your flasks, because no amount of poor preparation on my part should ever contribute to a death. I guess no one in the game will ever use the well again, because waypoints now, waypoints and checkpoints now refill your flask charges. And there's a checkpoint at the beginning of every map, so why even have this building anymore? Okay, so crafting. Hey, look, a robe is on the ground. It's like the first thing that dropped in this map other than this orb of transmutation and some stuff that I've actually filtered out. But if you look at the filter here, not that much is gone. And if we're being honest, in Path of Exile 1, if we ran in and killed this many mobs, the floor would be, like, completely filled, and you would be filtering all of it away except for something that fits, like, precisely your needs. A glove with 4 sockets that are already linked and, like... So you can imagine at the high end, that could already be, like, an incredibly rare item that you're dealing with, just as a base item for crafting. Whereas this is just some robe that I picked up off the ground. But it could be my next item. So hopefully it's clear that there are just 2 very different paradigms that crafting is happening under in these 2 games. And so it makes a lot of sense to me that crafting would be different in these 2 games. Like Path of Exile 2 is a casino. Dude, go double corrupt an item in Path of Exile 1 and tell me what it cost you. Look at this belt. I mean, really there are like 3 stats here that are of any use to me at all. Mana and 2 fat resists. But I consider this a pretty great item. The vol implicit is nice, but I mean, you know. And when I look around, like a lot of my items are really just, they have 3 or 4 good stats on them. Which indicates to me that good items can really be created with rather inexpensive currency. You just have to be rolling a lot of items. And so I guess part of my argument here is that a lot of people's loot filters might be too strict for this game. I'm running a loot filter that I created, and it's in the description. But yeah, I'm actually like really enjoying the game. I think it is doing a lot of things right. I think they have a really good foundation to build on. And in a lot of ways, like me and my friends, all we really want is like a good ARPG to play where we can trade amongst each other, and then like I never really buy anything off of the market. I just sell extra stuff and hoard currency, because that's kind of what I like to do. My goal is to find a mirror. I've never found a mirror before, and I think it's time. Hit me with that. What the hell? As I kind of stated before, like I think that we lost something when going from the campaign to the end game. It's like something about the way the enemies approach you is different, or like it's just, I don't know if the enemies and the player are too fast, but there's something about it where your roll isn't as important. Dodging isn't as important. And killing things off screen becomes much more of a priority for the squishier classes. Which is disappointing. That's kind of where PoE 1 falls down to. The bosses are really good though. I like the bosses a lot. What else? Oh, I had a thing about Harvest League. Harvest League was like the last league that I actually played very much of. And it was controversial whenever it came out because people saw these crafting methods as too deterministic. They thought it would be bad for the long-term health of the game. And I actually think that whenever they talk about PoE 2 not having 14 years of power creep or whatever the line is, I think they're talking about that kind of stuff. I think they're talking about crafting. It's a fresh start on that. Oh, I was watching this, I think it was a Nixvillum video, where he said...
One thing I'm noticing with this game compared to Diablo is like the amount of dead ends that there are in dungeons here. And I know for a fact that like the Diablo community was so against dead ends when Diablo 4 released. They were like, oh, less dead ends. So Diablo 4 made no dead ends. There were no dead ends in dungeons anymore.
And I was like losing my mind. I could not believe what I was... I couldn't believe that it was as bad as it is. Like, and they actually started doing that stuff in Diablo 3. I don't know. This has been a bit of a ramble. My review of this game is a yes out of 10. I think that's about it. Mark Dara should trim his mustache. Suppose that's it. See ya.